Hey everyone, what is up? This is Ricky from RPI, and I'm coming at you with a new video segment, I guess is the way to word it. And I think I'm just gonna call it topics, maybe. Um, that sounds good. Topics, and then like a dash and whatever the topic is, I suppose. Yeah, that'll work. I like that. Um, and the topics is just gonna be any kind of topic. Like for example, this one is on a subject that I really enjoy, and it's going to be Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars. At the end of the year, we got the new movie coming out, and hopefully the new Star Wars Battlefront, or at least some information. Hold on, I'm going to fix my camera just a little bit. There we go. So hopefully, at the very least, information on the new Star Wars Battlefront game, and if not, it'll just be the game itself, hopefully. I can't wait for that game and the movie, The Force Awakens. It's going to be awesome. But what I wanted to specifically discuss in this Star Wars discussion topic video is the prequels compared to the original trilogy, but not necessarily me bashing on the prequels or bashing on the original, because I like both the prequels and the original. I don't necessarily think I don't think that the oh gosh, what is the word? I just said it. The original is better than the prequels, and I don't think the prequels are better than the original. I think that they all have their place within the Star Wars time frame, and they fit the storyline perfectly. The way the movies are done, maybe not perfectly for a few of them, for some of them, but I think that at least the prequels are given a lot more hate than they probably should be getting. They should be getting a lot more praise, in my opinion. And so I think I'll start with like the first movie, for example, The Phantom Menace. And I'll be honest, The Phantom Menace, for the most part, wasn't, well, it was a good movie. Like, I want to point out that if I don't like a part of a Star Wars movie, that doesn't mean anything, because I think all Star Wars movies are better than any other movie out there. That's just my opinion, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But I have to say The Phantom Menace was lacking a bit in some sense. I don't really care for actors' names too much, but the kid who played Anakin Skywalker wasn't exactly the best actor for it. But I mean, it ended up working out in the end somehow. Um, but it wasn't like the pod race was cool. He did well with those scenes, in my opinion. But like, for the most part, it didn't seem like really good acting. But he's a kid, so like you can't really like use that as a like. How do I word this? He's a kid, so you can't hold that against him. So it was kind of like a small letdown, a minor detail, to be honest. But what really made the movie great was Qui-Gon Jinn, a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Darth Maul. Darth Maul is one of the greatest Siths out there, just because of just how amazingly powerful and awesome he was. I understand there's so much more powerful Sith out there, a lot more cunning and calculating Sith, because Darth Maul, politics was definitely not his thing. At least in the movies, if you watch the Clone Wars series, which I will actually, I do have to go over that a bit just because it ties in episode 2 and episode 3. But according to the movies only, Darth Maul didn't really have that political mindset. He was purely warrior based and everything. But that fight scene was so good, especially since we never seen anything like that in the original trilogy, which was kind of unfortunate. Though Return of the Jedi, I admit that fight scene between Luke and Vader was actually pretty good. Definitely stepped up from episode 4 and 5. But episode 5, that was a good lightsaber duel too. But I'm jumping all over the place now. So those were some like really good moments, and the pod race was really cool. I actually enjoyed seeing the pod race. Now, this kind of applies to the prequels, all three of them, obviously. Uh, it's the political side of things. I actually enjoyed that quite a bit. I know more people would like to see just action, 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 and less of the political side, but I really like the fact that there's politics in it, and more than just constant action. Like, this is a whole universe. It can't just be about that one-centered action. Plus, the original trilogy, it was from the point of view from the rebellion for the most part. Yeah, we saw bits from the Empire and stuff, but we didn't have to see any political stuff going on with the Empire because there was no Senate. We were told the Senate was abolished in Episode 4. The Emperor was able to disband it. One of the two. We'll go with disband. The Senate was disbanded, so we didn't have to see any like long debates to get through stuff, even though technically they go into more depth with the books in this. The Senate really had no power when it came to the Empire, because the Emperor could just say whatever, and that was pretty much going to happen. The Senate was more of a formal thing, but now it was gone, so there's no more of that formalness. So the Emperor could just say what he wants, and then it's going to get done. Let's build a Death Star. All right, it's built. We don't have to see that whole political stuff. Money wasn't an object, none of that stuff. It's an empire, so you didn't need to see all that. Plus, there was no real governmental structure in the rebellion because it was all like military. It was a military structure, military government type structure. So there was no need to see those advanced politics and stuff come into play, which is why it was all straight action. But then compared to the prequels, you had to see more of the political stuff because it was a republic. It wasn't a rebellion. It wasn't an empire. It was a republic. And then even with the independent system state, the Confederacy of Independent Systems, CIS, they also had their own form of government because they were originally part of the republic, broke away, and were able to form under a political figure, Count Dooku, who was also a former Jedi, came to Sidious and whatnot. So I guess we can go into episode 2 from that. Episode 2 was really good. It was a great step up from episode 1. In hindsight, I think I should have done 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, but whatever. Episode 2, really good. I definitely enjoyed it. The way Anakin was portrayed, like his emotions or lack of emotions, for the most part, it was all right. I mean, it didn't work the greatest, but in my opinion, it worked enough. Because Anakin didn't really need to portray too much emotions. In fact, the Jedi Code was saying like they shouldn't be portraying that much emotion. That's why you see Samuel L. Jackson playing as a calm Jedi and not like cursing everywhere and getting all mad and angry and stuff. Though of course he still managed to look a little angry at times because he was playing Mace Windu and that's what Mace does. But he wasn't like shouting or anything. These are Jedi. They learned how to compose themselves, control their emotions for the most part. They're also still living creatures, beings, not all of them human, obviously, so they have their faults and stuff. Anakin's being too much sureness in himself, so pride. He was way too overconfident, and starting his training early went against him, and I think that's something some people forget, is that Anakin started earlier, so he still had all those attachments with his mother and stuff, compared to most Jedi who didn't even know who their mom was, or maybe had only like 1 or 2 faint memories. So you kind of can't hold him against the fact that Anakin appears kind of whiny or needy compared to other Jedi. So that's kind of my analysis on Episode 2's Anakin portrayal. And the lightsaber duels were so good, and one of the most iconic moments that I can remember from Star Wars is the battle on Geonosis with all those Jedi. There was like hundreds of them. They all had their lightsabers. They're fighting the droids and stuff. That was great. I really enjoyed that moment. It's really good. And it was the first time we actually got to see so many Jedi gathered in one area. And I like the fact that there's so many Jedi in the prequels, which they couldn't really portray in the original trilogy for obvious reasons. So that I enjoyed Episode 2. Dooku Count Dooku is a great enemy, by the way. And it's really interesting because he has a philosophy of both light side and dark side. Um, and if you read the books, it seemed like he would have betrayed the Emperor in Episode 3. Like, he would have revealed who Sidious was, and that the fact that the Emperor is also the Chancellor. Excuse me. So, Dooku is really awesome. I would like to jump straight to Episode 3, but I do want to cover the Clone Wars just briefly, because a lot of people don't understand how Anakin was like all of a sudden good in Episode 2, and then all of a sudden in Episode 3 he's so conflicted about so many decisions, and why he wants to just all of a sudden join the dark side. First off, it was a 3-year gap between Episode 2 and 3. So a lot can happen in 3 years, especially when you're on the front lines in this war and stuff. Right? Besides all these clone troopers who are dying. And it was introduced that Anakin had a Padawan during that time who ends up leaving the Order. Sorry if I spoiled that. If you haven't watched Clone Wars, go ahead and watch it. It's really good. It started off a little shaky at the beginning because it was more geared towards kids. But when they realized that a lot more than just kids were watching, they changed it up a bit, and it took a really good path. And it turned out really good. But anyways, so Anakin was going through all this stuff. He lost his apprentice. She didn't die, but she left the Order. And he felt that the Council was to blame for that, because they didn't believe in her and put her through all that. And then she left because of it. So he blamed the Council. No denying that. So there was that. Because before Episode 3, Anakin already had a deep mistrust with the Council. The moment he married Padme was the moment where that rift appeared between him and the Jedi, because now he had other responsibilities. So, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so that's where the rift started, and then it just continued to grow. Because he was married, obviously. And you see in the Clone Wars, he gets moments with Padme and stuff. And his Jedi duties interfere, her senator duties interfere, and he gets kind of like upset and stuff about that. But and then he has his apprentice and stuff. He develops a good relationship with her, good master student. They were like friends pretty much. It's almost like Anakin and Obi-Wan, father, son. They were good friends, good partners. But Ahsoka ends up leaving. Anakin's all crushed by this and stuff. That's pretty much the end of that. There's a few more episodes, but you can see Anakin is like completely turned by it. Which brings me to another thing I just remember from the Clone Wars was a great 3-part adventure, I guess, where they actually go to this alternate world, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka. And Anakin actually learns that he ends up becoming a Sith. And what's really interesting is that after he learns he becomes Darth Vader, and all the horrible things he does, he still turns to the dark side just to prevent the current Sith, him from becoming the current Vader and becoming a different Sith. It's really interesting, but it's all about him being the chosen one. And remember, Anakin had a lot of responsibilities too, being the chosen one, being different in such a high force power midichlorian, and he wasn't trained properly, I guess, or he was trained well. Obi-Wan did his job, but he didn't do it well enough because Obi-Wan was blinded by love and all that stuff. But so he really could not save Anakin, regardless of how well he tried, in my opinion, anyways. So then we'll move on from the Clone Wars series, and then we'll go to Episode 3 now. Great way to open it with that space battle. They're all zooming in. You see that massive space battle. It was amazing. The duel with Dooku, amazing. And they all head back. More political stuff, and I absolutely love Palpatine's manipulation. Because that's like crazy that he could manipulate someone like that. It's just insane. Having that kind of manipulation skill in real life is really useful. So Palpatine obviously uses his manipulation because he already knows about Anakin and Padme being married, and he plants Force visions inside Anakin in the form of nightmares, saying that Padme's going to die in childbirth. Anakin's all upset. He needs a way to save Padme. He's pretty much dedicated himself to that. Then he learns this tale from Palpatine. The instant Palpatine says there's a power that's beyond that of a Jedi, to save people from dying, Anakin was just sold on the idea. You have to put yourself in Anakin's mindset. Anakin's turn to the dark side was not sudden. First off, he went through all the distrust with the Council during the Clone Wars. Then he learns that there's a way to save Padme from childbirth. And he learns it can't be from a Jedi. Third thing that happens is he learns that the person who knows this power, or at least studied under the person who knew this power, is Palpatine, who is not only a Sith Lord, but also has been there for Anakin, guiding him since he was a child, as it was explained in the books. It was hinted at in the movies when he's like, oh, you have a good relationship with Palpatine and stuff. So Anakin you can't just blame Anakin for turning to the dark side all of a sudden. And I thought it was really well executed how his turn to the dark side was. Unlike most people saying it was sudden, because they ignored the 3-year time skip, Anakin's feelings towards Palpatine, the fact that the only person who he believed could help him save Padme was Palpatine, and Mace was about to kill him. If things could have gone down differently, if Mace was like, yeah, we'll keep him alive, I believe Anakin still would have gone to Palpatine and like talk with him and learn to gain the secrets, even though Palpatine didn't really know it, but they could have done some kind of tutelage type thing. Most likely Anakin would have broken Palpatine out, but the Jedi Order would have had a better chance of survival. But I still think, because of Order 66, the Jedi Order would still have fallen regardless. But that's a whole nother discussion in itself. So Anakin's turn to the dark side was very well written, very well portrayed. If you actually look at all the details in it, you can't just look at certain things. Like episode 2, he was good guy. Episode 3, he's bad guy. You can't look at it like that. You have to see everything from his childhood all the way up until he turns. So then, of course, we get the epic Obi-Wan versus Kenobi duel. Absolutely. Obi-Wan versus Kenobi. Obi-Wan versus Anakin duel. Absolutely amazing duel. Evenly matched. Greatest thing ever. Epic music playing. We get Yoda and Palpatine dueling. That was just awesome in itself. They're throwing all those Senate pods at each other and stuff, and it's great. And the political aspect in episode 3 is really good, because you see from episode 1 to episode 3 how Palpatine got power and then stayed in power, and then had everyone's trust to the point where he could turn something into an empire, a republic into an empire, and stay ruler, which is just crazy. And I love the political stuff in it. It's just great. And it adds more depth, in my opinion, to the Star Wars universe. Something I did forget to mention, Jar Jar. People bash on Jar Jar a lot. You have to admit, though, it was a bit of a comedic attempt. Just making sure that's out there. It was an attempt. There were some funny moments, like when Jar Jar stuck his tongue out to grab that fruit, and then Qui-Gon just grabs it with like his finger and thumb. He's like, don't do that again. But that was more epic than comedy. But there was bits there. But if you really think about it, Jar Jar is the reason why this whole thing went down. Jar Jar is the one who gave emergency powers to Palpatine. And yeah, so Jar Jar is the reason why all that happened. It's pretty crazy to even think about that. But yeah, so he's actually is important in a sense. Could they have made him like not as dumb and an attempt at comedy? Yeah, they could have. But if he wasn't as dumb, he wouldn't have been so easily manipulated into voting for Palpatine to get emergency powers. But I guess that's it for the prequels. Now we'll move on to the original trilogy. Episode 4, great movie. It introduced us to everything Star Wars, so how could it not be awesome? Is it the best one in my opinion? No. I think, honestly, episode 3 is the best. But episode 4 is good, like really good. It introduced us to all the main characters, Luke, Han, Leia. It's got so many like iconic moments. Obi-Wan Kenobi is just awesome. Great line. That's no moon. That's a space station. I love that. Flying through the asteroid field. Was that in 4? No, that was in 5. Whoops, I'm getting ahead. I'm thinking of the whole trilogy. But episode 4 was really great, just setting everything up and preparing us for this whole massive universe. Move on to episode 5, which is actually my least favorite out of all the Star Wars movie. Still a great, phenomenal movie. The Battle of Hoth was really great. I love that battle, and like how you want the rebels to win, but like they end up losing anyways, and they retreat and stuff. So it's not always like the heroes win type of mentality. Luke learns from Yoda. Yoda's moving that X-wing, which is great. Um, Luke goes and fights Vader, learns he's his father. Huge twist right there. um, and it was really good. And then Luke gets the robotic hand, and it was a good movie. My least favorite out of them, but still a good movie. And then episode 6 comes, Return of the Jedi. Absolutely great. From Return of the Jedi, so many spin-off novels, not really spin-off novels, but the continuation of the story through novels. Um, these are like my favorite novels too. Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order, the introduction of Jason Solo. Jason Solo is such a good character. One of the best. He's the best character out of the EU. Of course, that's just another debate as well. But everything in the EU, um, which really brought up my interest in Star Wars the most, like even more than the movies did. Everything in the EU happened because Return of the Jedi being the last. Obviously, we got the prequels, but the last one. And then now we have Force Awakens, which kind of destroys the EU. But we'll see what happens with that. Great duel. Anakin's redeemed, and Anakin is the chosen one. It's not Luke. I know it may seem like it's Luke because Luke turned Vader back into Anakin, which caused Anakin to kill Palpatine, which means Luke brought balance to the Force. In reality, Anakin made the decision himself to become Anakin again, throwing Vader off, saving his son. Yes, Luke is a big part of it, but Anakin's the chosen one, of course. He brought balance to the Force, and balance did not mean save the Jedi Order, as we all know. It meant destroying the Jedi and destroying the Sith and starting anew. Because Luke, even though he's fighting for good, in the EU, he learned stuff from the dark side. But he doesn't have all the training from the old Jedi Order, so it's a whole new experience. It's a whole new balancing thing. So like even though there's Luke as a Jedi, it still brings balance to the Force. Anakin ends up dying, which is kind of sad. I mean, it would have been nice if he lived, but I guess it also wouldn't make too much sense. Like Luke's been without his father for so long, and he has all his friends and stuff, and his sister, so there was no real point to keep him around, and it was a redemption thing. He died redeeming himself. But then he comes back as a Force ghost with Yoda and Obi-Wan, which was just great. It was great to see the three of them there like that. Absolutely great. Star Wars is like the best movie universe series overall. It really is. So that was kind of like my talk explanation on why I love Star Wars so much. Not really an explanation, but me just kind of, I guess, doing a mini review of each movie and just kind of reviewing the series as a whole. Obviously, out of 10, Star Wars gets an infinity, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you thought about all this. Was it good? Do you like this at all? Did you agree with me on some points for the movies? I'm fine if you disagree. I mean, it's all about matter of opinion. And we can continue these conversations in the comment section. So we could always do that. If you disagree, go ahead and let me know. I'm always open to debate. I love debating. As long as things don't get like, let's not call each other names or anything. Let's actually have a friendly human to human debate type thing, because those are always the best. Because I love hearing other people's opinions. It's great. And just bouncing ideas off each other people as well. It's really fun. But yeah, that's it. Let me know what you thought about this series. If you want to continue the conversation, disagree with some of my points, agree with some of them, just write a comment below. And if you have any topics you want me to discuss for the next time I do this, leave those in the comment section below. If I don't get a discussion topic idea, I have a few more lined up just in case. But that's it for now. Bye, guys.